Hello, you're listening to From McClay to Zelma. I'm your host, Karen Miller. This podcast is about the adventures and travels of two women from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who work for the U.S. Army at Zama, Japan. Their stories are told through hundreds of letters written home. Episode 16, 40 Cups of Coffee, letters 41 to 43. I decided to find out more about their friend Teen. They talk about her so often, and she sounded pretty interesting. So her name was Florence Coleman. They just called her Teen. And she was born in 1919 in Troy, Alabama, which is southeast of Montgomery. Her brother Bubba died at Iwo Jima. Her obituary says she was a former Miss Troy and that her family founded the town of Troy. She rode her bicycle everywhere until she was in her 80s and passed away August 5th, 2011 at the age of 92 without apparently ever having been married. So we have letter 41 is from Fern, written October 5th, 1953. Dear Daddy, thank you for your letter. It was right cute. Can't you make Helen take it easy though? She mentioned it in her last letter about doing something or other on the third floor. Why must she walk up there? Couldn't it be dusted once a month and let it go at that? Make her behave. These clippings are just a few of the interesting things that appear daily in the Nippon Times. I'm getting a liberal education just from the daily reading of the newspaper. The picture which shows the men playing Go was of interest because the one time we stayed at a Japanese hotel, we saw this board and two baskets of white and black chips and wondered what kind of game it represented. As yet, I haven't found out much about how it's played. The board is divided into many small squares, and there are takusan, many white and black markers. The reading under the picture would indicate that it is a game requiring much skill and intelligence, so please don't expect me to learn it. You know me about anything calling for logical thinking. By this time, you will have received the letter telling you about my experiences during typhoon tests. Please don't worry about things like that because wherever we travel, we are under the protection of the Army, and they take very good care of their people as far as storm warnings, housing, etc. are concerned. In that respect, we're in very good hands. Since I stayed at home over the last weekend, I don't have much news to impart. Suppose I tell you about a typical ride into Yokohama from Camp Zama. Saturday, Peg and I left the camp on the 12:15 bus. From here to Yoko is about an hour and 15 minutes. But the greatest part of the time is consumed between here, the 8169th Hospital, which is only a short distance away. But oh, that road! They are digging it up for repairs, and I'm convinced they will still be digging it in the year 3000. Such ruts, bumps, holes, and ditches you've never seen. After catching our breath from that experience, we managed to see quite a few things of interest along the way. People grow orange trees in their backyards, and this must be the reason, or must be the season for them to ripe, because all along the way there were vivid orange spots among the green foliage, which covers the countryside. And upon close inspection, we discovered scrawny oranges on those trees. I've eaten some Japanese-grown oranges, though, and I must say they are sweet and juicy. We saw huge, and I mean huge radishes, the white variety, rhubarb stalks, and onions. Truly, they are fabulous in size, due, I'm told, to the richness of the soil, which they are fertilizing. Remember the honey buckets? Well, which would you rather eat, small or medium-sized vegetables grown the American way, or huge Japanese produce raised their way? As for me, I'll stick to GI-produced food. When we go to Yokohama, we usually make Korea Courts our headquarters. Many of the girls we know live there, and we leave packages, wash up a bit, and in general make it a meeting place. As we walked over there from the bus stop, we noticed a great deal of activity and excitement at the Japanese school playground nearby. It must have been a field day or gym day because hundreds of boys and girls in typical gym clothes were milling about the playground. Naturally, we stopped to watch and were fascinated by the girls playing tug of war and the boys doing some clever tumbling routine and both the girls and boys having a hilarious game which involved throwing red balls and white balls into a basket, which a boy held high above his head as he rotated in circles. We were so sorry not to have our camera with us, but there are usually so many things we have to carry back from Yokohama that we need our hands free. Then, too, we weren't used to the fact that it was a beautiful day instead of a rainy one, and that pictures could have been taken. I'm promising myself to go on a camera hike either out here in the country or in Yokohama itself. I just finished making a list of snapshot subjects which I want to take. One of these days you'll be surprised by a batch of pictures. Today is Monday for us, but you must have been at church this morning. Helen's letter makes it sound just lovely. Are you pleased with the result of the renovation, even though you didn't agree with all of the plans? Yesterday, we joined in World Communion Sunday. Peggy and I attended a church here at Zama. Communion was served to us in the pews and was a very different experience for both of us. However, it felt good to receive it, although both of us participated in communion on board ship too. The Zama Chapel is truly beautiful and the music is exceptionally good. Did I mention before that just a few weeks ago, they dedicated new chimes, and now several times a week as I'm walking from my office in North Camp to the billet in South Camp, I can enjoy a Carillion recital. Very lovely. Helen says we haven't mentioned church. Honest, we go every Sunday. We are here. When we go away, it isn't always possible, though. Things which would never happen in the United States. The Japanese have radically different views of modesty than we do. Today, as I walked in the ladies' room, there is a papa-san hammering away on some window repairs. I walk into the little booth, complete my business, and as I walk out into the other room to wash my hands, here comes two more papa-sans with boards and carpentry equipment, leaving the door to the hall wide open so that anyone can see me washing, powdering my nose, etc. Life in Japan. They tell us to expect these things, but it's always a surprise when you actually encounter some new custom. Yesterday, I went to a football game with a gal from the office and her husband, and another couple with two little boys, ages 3 and 5. Eddie and Bill were adorable, so well behaved, and it was such fun to be around children again. The game was between the Atsugi Naval Air Station near Zama and the Tokyo MP outfit. My host being Atsugi now, and me knowing the halfback, naturally I yelled for the Navy. We won 13-6. It was fun. Sunshine and fresh air, popcorn, apples, and Cokes, yelling, being with the family instead of just other dames. I ate supper with them and came home rather early. However, all that fresh air really put me to sleep, and I was almost late for work this morning. If the sun keeps on staying out, I may get used to it. As it is now, it is a rare pleasure to be savored every second. I begrudged the 8 hours spent at the office today while the October weather was beckoning. At noon, I took a walk, and as a reward, saw a helicopter land in one of our parking lots to deliver some general here from headquarters in Tokyo. Handy gadgets to those helicopters. Remind me to buy one when I make my first million. This is being written with the pen the office kids at New Cumberland gave me. It ain't so hot, is it? It's hard to use and hard to read. Lots of love to both of you. Vern. Helen, please take care of yourself. We worry too, you know. By the way, I haven't been tired since the sun came out. Must have been psychological, huh? Letter 42 from Peg, written the 5th of October, 1953. Dear Mother and Daddy, I just got your letter of 27 September, and it was most newsy. Now I'll comment on the news items first, and then I'll tell you my news. I was sorry to hear about Mrs. Jacobson's death, but I guess the poor soul is better off. I've often thought about her and the other neighbors out on the lane. She sure had a rough time of it, and she told me once that she didn't expect to live very long. I wish I'd said goodbye to her before I left for 526. I just love the picture of the men painting the church. That hen's a real character, isn't he? Rita and Murray are a darling couple, and I sure wish them all the happiness in the world. I'm anxious to read Bern's letter about the big job you had to do, but I don't want to talk about it over the phone, so I'll just have to wait until this evening. Don't you dare declare Christmas early. We have more surprises, and I'm not even going to hint about them now. See? Ain't I the devil? I don't think we'll call you, though, like we said, because I'm afraid we'd spend the whole time bawling. I'll have to check it over with Vern first, and maybe we'll decide to call after all. We'll let you know, though. I'm very disgusted with Mark and Sis. We still haven't heard from them, but I'm getting used to not hearing from people, so I just don't care anymore. No, I wouldn't write or phone either. If anything is wrong, you'll hear about it. Bless your little hearts, worrying about us and the weather. By the time you've gotten our letters telling about our experiences with Tess, so you know that we're okay. But just don't worry so much. We're doing fine. Now I'll start my news. Where to begin? There's so much to tell. Saturday, Jeanette, Vern, and I went to Yokohama to go shopping. It's not as simple as it sounds because first we have to take that stinking dirty bus ride for an hour and 15 minutes. It's over that lousy torn up road. I do truly think we will both be liver grown soon. I don't know what that means. But the time we get to Yoko, we are sorely in need of another shower and change of clothes. However, over here people are very casual about their clothes. Most everyone has transportation difficulties of some sort, and consequently they don't dress up very much. You know that black frill skirt of Vern's that she said she would throw out when she got here? Well, she's wearing it very often, and she's glad she has it. I went to Yoko with my hair in pin curls and a bandana on, and we all three commented how we'd never go out to town back home looking like we did. However, everyone dresses like that, so we're no exception here. We went to the PX and then to the PX restaurant for supper. We walked back to Korea Courts, where Velma still lives, to pick up some things that I had left there, and on the way back we passed a grade school, I believe. They were having gymnastic contests that day, so we stopped and watched for a while. The kids are just adorable, and they put their whole hearts and souls into the games. Oh, I forgot to tell you about Friday night. Teen, I told you about her, is leaving today, so we took her to dinner at the Golden Dragon. She got home a little before the rest of us, and when I got home, she came in my room and said that the overseas operator had called her and told her to stand by for a call from Troy, Alabama. That's her hometown. She had asked me to wait up with her because she thought the call might be from her mama, giving her the devil for going to New York instead of stopping in Troy first. So we went down to the maid's room, got the maid awake, and the three of us curled up on the maid's bed to wait for the call. The call came through. It was from one of Teen's wealthy friends who was going to fly over to Tokyo to see Teen for a few days. Dig that crazy woman. Then Teen and I went back to my room and crawled in my bed and covered up with blankets to keep warm, because Teen wanted to talk. I talked myself blue in the face trying to convince her to stay here for a while longer, but I just didn't get through. Anyhow, it was about 3:30 until we got to bed. Saturday night, we went over to the 45 and had ourselves a gay old time. Some time ago, we met a real darling sailor, Bill Ryan, and he's the smoothest dancer I've ever met. He was there too, so he and I danced all evening. He had weekend liberty, so he asked me to come into Yoko on Sunday to meet him. I did, and we had the nicest day. We discovered the Yokohama amusement park. He's a kid at heart, so we went on the Ferris wheel and the airplanes, and we went to the shooting gallery and shot courts too. There weren't too many Americans in the park, so we got a good look at the Japanese kids and their parents having fun. We both got a big kick out of it, and Bill said he was so glad that I suggested going there because he didn't even know about the park. Then he and I went to see the movie Shane. Oh, that crazy Alan Ladd. How about that fist fight? I didn't really believe it, did you? Then we went to the 45 and danced some more. He was formerly stationed in Natsugi, but now he's at Opama, and a big crowd of fellows from Natsugi were there last night, and Velma and some more girls that I knew, so a good time was had by all. Yesterday, Vern, Tina, and I went to church here at Zama. It was Worldwide Communion Sunday. They passed the wafers and wine through the audience, and then, when everyone was served, we were supposed to take it together. Never having taken communion like that before, Vern and I ate the wafer as soon as we got it. But now we know better the next time. The Zama Chapel dedicated a set of chimes and a loudspeaker a few Sundays ago. We were at that service. And the music is just lovely. However, the service itself just doesn't get through to either one of us. We enjoy the music, but the chaplain isn't a very good speaker. Some Sunday, we're going to go to Tokyo and go to a Lutheran church there. But I don't think there were any ULC churches here. The ones that have notices in the paper are all Missouri Synod. I tell you, church is one thing that I really miss, and I can hardly wait to go to Augsburg again and really boom out the service. Then I'll feel as though I'm really at church. T left this morning for Tokyo. She has to get cleared there and will fly out possibly on Thursday. She's going to call tonight and let us know when the flight is scheduled. It is in the daytime. If it's in the daytime, Vern, Jeanette, and I are going to take annual leave and go in to see her off. When Teen gets to New York, she's going to call you people, and we told her to come visit you some weekend. You will just love her. Everyone does. And if she does come to visit, I know you will have a fine time. Please ask her to come visit when she calls you. I sure hate to see her go. Jeanette is moving to Tokyo tomorrow because she can't stand the dull, deadly life at Zama. We'll miss her too, but we can go to Tokyo over weekends now instead of coming back in the same day. Colonel Van Tool is in Korea this week. All of the other consultants are away today too, so that's why I'm writing this letter now. I don't have any work to do. I must tell you about the movie yesterday. Shane was playing in a Japanese theater. It's about the same as one of our theaters. However, the newsreel is spoken in Japanese, so we couldn't understand very much of that. They flashed a no smoking sign on the screen, written in both languages. So about that time, people all over the theater light up a cigarette. The feature is just like it's shown back home, although the sound isn't as good, and the dialogue is written in Japanese on one side of the screen. The sound is in English. The seats are most uncomfortable, having been made for the Oriental anatomy. During the big fist fight, all the patrons were on the edge of their seats, and they were so wrapped up in it. I watched them more than I did the movie. All the buildings and furniture over here is Japanese, and it is so small. The doorways are low, and more than one of our big husky GIs have bumped their heads going through them. When we got on the airplane at the park yesterday, Bill just about was doubled in two trying to fit his long legs into the seats. They just aren't built like we are. Short as I am, I feel like a giant. Even the men are shorter than I am. I just don't see how you could let the darling little blondie out all night. You know that I would have stayed up all night until she wanted to come in. Right now, ordnance section is moving into the other wing of our building. There are about 100 Japanese men moving the equipment, and you'd think they were moving the Rock of Gibraltar. They grunt, shout, and moan so much that we had to close the doors. They make a big issue out of hard work, although for their size, they are very strong. Such characters. Oh, the biggest news, I almost forgot. I told you I wrote to Dr. Simon, didn't I? Well, 2 days after that, I got a letter from him. I'm going to enclose it in this letter tonight, but I want to write down his address before I send it. I really didn't think he'd write, but I guess home folks mean as much to him as they do to us. It's a nice letter, isn't it? I'm going to enclose the note that Yamanuchi got her buddy to write to me about dropping the radio. Isn't it cute? I'm just about gassed out for this time. Maybe I'll have some more news to add tonight. Loving kisses, Peg. I just got a letter from Pete. Be sure to let her read Dr. Simon's letter so that she can pass the news on to Dr. Slavkov. He'll be so pleased. Helen and John, will you please stop worrying about your little darlings and the weather and everything else? I read your letter to Byrne at supper in which you expressed fears for her safety in Tess. Believe me, the Army takes care of its own, and we're under military regulations, so we're safer in all respects over here than we would be at home. Mother, I have a feeling the sound of your letter you aren't feeling so chipper. You told me about your knee and also that you had to rest a while when you got to the 3rd floor. If you don't feel well, please go to the doctor and take it easy. That applies to you too, John. A new DAC mess opened tonight in South Camp. The steak was so good, but the rest of the meal was tasteless. I only eat because it's required, but I still managed to pack a lot of it away. Can't wait to get some of the harnishes cooking, though. That's all for now. Tell everyone I said hello. If you haven't sent the shoes yet, please don't wait until Christmas, but send them as an early Christmas gift or take money out of my bank account for them. They cost 4,200 yen on the Japanese market, and they're made very poorly, but I'm getting desperate. I have enough other ones that I'd like to have black suede heels, please. Love again, Peg. So this is the letter that Peggy received. Dear Peggy, 29th September 1953. Received your letter yesterday, which was certainly a pleasant surprise to hear from you and to know that you and Bernice are in Japan. One can't help but feel the small world we live in, and good to know that there are people I know comparatively close at hand. Today marks 8 months since arriving in Okinawa, and to date, my tour of duty here has been a most fascinating one. For most part, my work here has been confined to the 29th RCT's dispensary and a small portion of the Army hospital here. Most of our patients are Army personnel, but we do manage to see a great number of dependents and DAC personnel. We also have many opportunities to care for Okinawans, who are our most appreciative patients. There are, for the present, only 3 of us attached to the dispensary, which has kept us fairly busy. Normally, we should have 5 physicians and are expecting to have our full quota by November or December. We've been fortunate to have monthly medical meetings and have had some interesting symposiums given by civilians and the top men in military medicine, 3 of which you mentioned in your letter, Colonel Peterson, Colonel Salyer, and Colonel Bamba, all of which have been here recently. I might add that they all gave us most interesting and quite informative talks. Then, too, the hospital conducts 2 or 3 staff meetings each week, which I found most worthwhile. If we can continue to follow along in the same pattern, my 2-year tour of duty in the service should prove most profitable for me. Okinawa is not a bad spot to serve on, for there are many modern facilities here. The government has gone all out to make it most comfortable for all concerned. A tremendous amount of building is going on about us. Modern typhoon-resistant buildings have been constructed, and many more are being built. Already, we have many 4-lane highways intertwined about the island. For the most part, dependent homes are beautiful and livable. There are many Army and Air Force dependents here, and more to come. However, the housing situation remains critical. Every organization has its own club, some of which would rate high in the best of societies. Many churches as well as theaters are near at hand. The people of Okinawa are similar to Japanese, for they have been under Japanese rule for many years. They relied chiefly on their rice paddies and small plots of farmland for their livelihoods. A great number are employed by our government. There is much evidence of native prosperity here, for the grass-thatched roof is being supplemented by tile roofs. With the Americans here, they have learned other trades, and almost daily one can see new shops and stores being erected. Their salaries are practically nil. Have you had many opportunities to visit the many interesting locales of Japan? I was in Japan at Cape Drake for 5 days in January. I also spent 1 day at Camp Zama. How are transportation facilities to Tokyo from Zama? Certainly an excellent opportunity to see some of the Orient. I hope to go off to Japan next spring, but will take any opportunities that come sooner. By all means, I will give you a call. It would be nice to see both you and Bernice on that occasion. When you write to your folks, extend to them my warmest regards. I would like to know more of your work and experiences during your stay in Japan, so when you have time, write again, won't you? Say hello to Bernice. Hoping you both are enjoying the best of everything. As ever, Nick, Dr. Simon. Letter 43 from Peg, written the 9th of October, 1953. Dear Mother and Daddy, yesterday I got the box with my fur coat. It was in fine shape. Of course, a few grains of salt from the pretzels were scattered here and there, but I shook them off, and it's fine now. And thanks loads for the jelly and pretzels. I was wondering whether you would send a refill of pretzels, and I wasn't disappointed. The box itself arrived in good shape, and you could get jobs over as packing and shipping people very easily. A week or so ago, I sent to the Stars and Stripes for a copy of a book called When We Get Back Home. I think I mentioned some of those cartoons in one of my letters. The book arrived yesterday, too. The cartoons are just darling and so typical, but you wouldn't understand most of them until I explained them to you. However, a narrative about each cartoon is printed, so I think I will send you a copy of it. I'm going to send one to Kitty Snyder, too. If you have no objections, Mother, I think I'm going to trade in my fur coat next spring or summer for a mink cape or jacket. They only cost about $200 or $300, and it's probably the only way I'll ever get mink. I haven't inquired into these possibilities yet, but I'll wear it this winter and then see how good I can do with it. However, if you have any objections, please don't hesitate to tell me. Oh, I also received the music one day last week. I didn't get a chance to unwrap it until the other night, but you sent very good things. However, since Teen and Jeanette have moved, we feel kind of lost, and things in our end of the billet aren't as lively as they had been. I have new neighbors on both sides of me, and I haven't met them yet, so I feel kind of funny about banging away on the organ until I know whether or not they object. Of course, the rest of the girls say not to feel that way because I was here first, but I still feel kind of funny. The weather for the past few days has been a joy and delight. I never knew that weather would be so much a topic of conversation over here and in letters, but it's a crazy climate. The days were bright and shiny, not too hot, but just nice for suits and sweaters. The evenings get rather cold, but we still don't have heat in the billets, so I think that's why we mind it so much. They say that the heat will be turned on the 15th of October, so we don't have too much longer to wait. However, today is Friday, so it's going to rain. See what I mean? It's a crazy country. That teen, I told you she went to Tokyo to be cleared and to go on a flight. Well, she told Jeanette that she had a flight leaving at 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning, so we knew that we couldn't get in there to see her off. When I came back from lunch on Tuesday, the phone rang and a fellow asked me if I knew Florence Coleman. I said I did, and he said it was Haneda Airport calling and that she was scheduled for a flight, but they couldn't locate her. I told him to check with the Osaka hotel where she stayed until her flight, and he said that he did, but she was lost somewhere at Haneda. I asked him what he wanted me to do about it, and he said, would I come in and help look for her? Then I caught on that it was one of her jokes, so I said, let me talk to her. She got on the phone, laughing like mad, and told me she had met this fellow Cliff, and that he was a good jitterbugger, and he liked to go to the Rocker 4 in Tokyo to dance. So he asked me when we could meet, etc. Isn't she the limit? She talks to everyone and in a matter of minutes knows everyone within a radius of a mile and all their relatives. I miss her so much, and so does Vern, because she very seldom got into bad moods and she was always good for a laugh. The latest thing she decided was to go home instead of going to New York. However, she said she dropped us a card from Wake Island, so I wouldn't be surprised if she decided to go to Paris. She doesn't even have a winter coat with her. She never carried a pocketbook with her anywhere, although we're supposed to have our ID cards with us at all times. She's such a screwball. A lot of sections have moved out to Zama this past week, and we're getting reacquainted with our Buckner buddies. It's good to see them again, and they seem like long-lost friends. Everyone seems to feel the same way, though. They are planning to stay only 1 year, and they're still griping about that 10%. Jeanette told me that since she moved to Tokyo, she's never heard more sob stories in her life. It's just that the gravy train has stopped, and things aren't plush like they were a few years ago. I think that we all expected too much when we came over here, but I still don't think it's as bad for us as for the old-timers who've been here for years and have had such a rude awakening right now. Understand, as far as I'm concerned, I can't compare the way things were then with the way they are now, so I really don't have much to gripe about. Furthermore, I think it's about time that the clamp was put on the easy living over here. Of course, Ike and the Republicans are being blamed for it, but there is absolutely no reason why the old-timers should have had it so darn easy in the good old days. Japan's not that bad, so that they had to have all these compensations. I just can't exactly explain what I mean, but I feel sure that you can make a little sense of it. It's just that I believe in people working for a living, and they sure as the dickens are just beginning to over here. They don't like it, but if they stay, they'll just have to take it. I still, however, feel that it's a stinking deal about the 10%, and nothing will make me change my mind. It's about time for a mail call, so maybe I'll get your letter today. I think I'll write to Dr. Simon. He signed his letter Nick, as you know, so I guess I'll write Dear Nick, although it seems strange. Wasn't that a nice letter? And wasn't it nice that he wanted to be remembered to you? If you feel like it, why don't you drop him a line sometime? Over the Far East Network, there's a record show every night from 10 to 11 o'clock. The other night, I heard a new record called 40 Cups of Coffee. Have you heard it yet? But I have to laugh when I think how the Japanese would sing it. 40 Cups of Kohi. We don't hear the latest records until they're practically dead in the States, and about the only way we know what's going on back home, except for the world events, is through stateside magazines. They can't go for the mail because they can't get a car. Damn, maybe they'll go this afternoon. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves and Blondie. Love, Peg. So there's been a lot of mention of church and church at home and how they miss their home church. So I thought I'd give you some information about Augsburg Lutheran in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The congregation was started in January of 1892. The lovely old building is still standing, and it is now the Mount Calvary Church of God. It is the first church I remember attending, where I was baptized and my parents were married. I imagine my mom was also baptized there, along with many members of my family, although I don't know that for sure. By 1970, the church had been sold and the congregation disbanded. I think it was a combination of white flight that had occurred and the riots that happened in the summer of 1969 in Harrisburg. The church at 444 Munich Street was just a 5-minute walk from the McClay Street home. I know that it was not a popular topic of discussion in my family from the many times I asked about it and was shut down. So I don't really know what happened. Bern and Peg and Helen, along with my grandparents, moved to St. Mark's Evangelical Lutheran Church that was out in the suburbs, located near the new homes that they moved to in the late 1950s. I'm posting some photos of the church on the website. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and if you are, please subscribe in Spotify. On Apple Podcast, hit the plus button in the top right-hand corner and rate. This will help my listeners find my podcast more easily. You can access the show's website at www.FromMcClayToZama.com, where I have posted photos from each episode. The podcast is now available on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Patreon, and Amazon Music, and we recently created a YouTube channel for the podcast as well. In the next episode, Aunt May, you will hear letters 43B, there were some numbering issues, through 46. We inadvertently discover the probable event that made Bernice ready to make the big change in her life to Japan. I hope you have a great week.